Baby, so we're gonna do a reading. I'm gonna do a reading. You do what you do. I'm not your mom. The energy is very low today. We've got cloudy skies and I don't know. I personally, not that you give a fuck, but I personally, there's somebody that said something on social media that I responded to about being medicated for mental health, and it really took a lot out of me because I feel so passionately about the process of being medicated and how that whole works, which has nothing to do with this reading, but I just wanted to release that for a second. Shout out to the energy reader that actually honors herself. Oh, God. Damn, bitch. That's a lot of reversals. Reversals aren't always bad, but... Okay, let's start here. Bottom of the deck energy is the Nine of Swords. Anxiety, worry, fear, depression, nightmares, insomnia, hopelessness, trauma, and despair. You're recognizing a disharmony with some success in your life. Something where you feel like you can't make the right decisions. We've got the King and Queen of Swords both reversed with the Two of Swords in between it. This idea, the lesser of two evils, you don't know. Folded, Kalani. Something about the idea of like, I could have asked for space instead of just walking away. There's this idea of like, should I cut somebody off, or like, should I cut something off, or just change my boundaries around it? Like, there's this like, which one, there's this like back and forth of like, which one would benefit me more. This restlessness of like having to make a decision, like you feel like you have to make a decision, and because of, you know, the word that's coming to mind is inability. Because of your inability to ground in what you want, the decision itself is much harder to make. Again, because you don't know what you want. Yeah, there's a lot of imbalance. Temperance coming out reversed. Overindulgence, extremes. So it's also getting this idea of... I'm getting this image. Okay, I'm sorry, I got ADHD. But I'm getting this image of somebody saying like, I can either walk the fuck off, like walk away, or I can come in and set limitations. Like, you're not going to talk to me this way. This is what I need. Every time you see me, I want flowers. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da. Like, very, very strict rules for somebody to follow. And that's like two very big extremes, where immediately when I said indecision, the first thing that came to my mind was, if you don't know, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. You know, like, you don't have to make a decision. If you don't know what the decision is, then don't make a fucking decision. Like, it seems simple, right? But it's like you're feeling kind of desperate, and this idea of like, I have to make a decision. And because you know who you are, you're somebody that's mature, a natural leader, somebody that has charm, somebody that, let's see, this idea of like knight in shining armors, following the heart, you're somebody that is really true to this. There's also, I was feeling this energy a lot yesterday, and then I went to go cleanse myself with a shower, and I heard the song Stand By Your Man. Stand by your man, even when the days get lonely, or whatever it is. This idea of like, it's okay to honor the human. If it's a relationship, it's okay to honor the human in that and be like, you wanna know what? I don't have to parent you or limit you. I can just say, you're human and you're trying to figure it out the same way that I am. We've got natural leader, entrepreneur, seeing the big picture, overcoming challenges, mature, creative, imagination, beauty, charm, romantic, follower of the heart, Prince Charming, proposal. There's this idea of like, you're really gentle and you're really soft. And because of what's going on and like the weight of what's going on, it's like you're being not, yes, pressure makes diamonds, but I want you to remain as coal. I want you to not, okay, this is like, again, charmed. I don't know if charmed is significant. This has been showing up in multiple times. I want you to remain as like the element of coal and not turn into diamond under pressure, and not harden, you know what I'm saying, under pressure. But then I'm also seeing how like coal in Charmed was faced with circumstances and kept going back to his ways, when really he was a natural leader, he was an entrepreneur, he overcame challenges, he was mature, he was the knight in shining armor, very much coal. I don't know, go watch Charmed. I don't fucking know. But this idea of like somebody that's very clear about what they want, but because their circumstances, they're seeing something as, they're seeing something as like this hardness, this precise, this protection, lots of swords energy of like keep you at arm's length, like this, you know. And then we have the Three of Swords reverse, which is, releasing pain, forgiveness, recovery. And this idea of like, you're finally realizing that your circumstances don't have to define you, and that you are who you are. We've got the Five of Cups crossed. You're giving this energy of, you're saying this idea of like, I want to say that you're recognizing failures, and I want to say because, I feel like you're openly recognizing failures. You're letting other people know that you know, you're like telling someone like, I know I fucked up. You're also saying that there is room for growth and there's an opportunity for things to experience. But before I do that, I have to recognize that I let myself, like, I'm so sorry that I let myself become what my circumstances. A lot of balance here. That we got the King and Queen of Swords, the King and Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands coming out reverse, self-respect, self-confidence, introverted selfishness, jealousy, insecurity. You're really recognizing, you're like, I gave into my circumstances because I didn't feel like I was good enough. And because of that, I hurt you, and I'm sorry. Like, I'm genuinely sorry. And like this very much, very intentional apology of, recognizing that you did, like, you fell judgment and the devil. Yeah, you fell into this illusion that you were trapped. You're breaking free. This is talking about like, hallelujah, like this idea of like freedom, of when the trumpets come, and like angels with the trumpets, is this idea of forgiveness, rebirth, a new phase, absolution, reckoning, awakening, redemption coming from. So that's judgment is coming into you, and you're releasing, you're giving, right? When I say giving, a lot of the times we say like giving as in like, I want to give you something, like I'll give you an orange. But you can also give the same way that like you can give the universe your worries and fears, and it'll return return back is in judgment. You're giving the universe your shadow self, attachment, addiction, restriction, temptation, seduction, destructive behavior, materialism, codependency, and toxicity. You're releasing that. There's a very heavy energy of celebration. You're being celebrated for this because you're finally recognizing that it's not your fault, that this doesn't define you, and that you are just making decisions based on what you've experienced. But you're also getting this idea that, like, now that you've recognized it, like, this is a new phase for you to be able to build on it, right? To be able to finally say, like, I take awareness now. Like, sorry doesn't mean anything without a change of action. You got the star, hope, calm, faith, purpose, renewal, power and success, rejuvenation, a good omen, good fortune. But this idea, of like really recognizing what you're doing and how you're showing up for people. And then, taking the time to contemplate, do I want to keep doing this? Because sorry doesn't mean anything without change action, right? So when you're making this apology, you're really sorry, and you're really, like, you're taking the intention and to change what you're doing, community, optimism, and joy. You're really saying, I want to say that because the way that it's showing up, I feel like the King and Queen of Swords, it wasn't a decision between you. I feel like there was the King of Swords, which was like, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. And then the Queen of Swords, which is like, I'm just gonna cut you out of my life. And this element of, like, one was like, you can only come back into my life if there are strict, specific rules that you follow. You can't talk to this person. You can't go out after 9, whatever. But, like, I feel like it wasn't toxic. It was rooted in past toxicity, but you were just trying your best to show up again in this idea of, like, but I love you, And the Queen of Swords was like, I'm not, like, overly emotional, hard-hearted, easily influenced, cruel. Like, fuck you and everything you're doing because you fucking hurt me, you asshole. And this idea of, like, get the fuck out of my life. Like, there's two extremes and there's a balance. Because of that balance, I feel like there's an emotionally aware union where, the masculine energy is going to recognize, like, the pain that he caused. And the feminine energy is also going to recognize the pain that she actively played in, the bondage that she put herself in, like saying, like, I'm trapped, but also recognizing that it's not, you're not tied up in this, like, there is room for growth. And I'm really seeing this idea of, like, she could just walk forward, like, she's not surrounded by them. She's just next to these, you're only as good as the company you keep and things of that nature. But this idea of, like, you're really recognizing that your circumstances, what surrounds you, doesn't define you, and recognizing that you want to be different and actually doing so intentionally, saying, like, hey, I really don't like when da-da-da-da. Can we find a way to compromise on, this is very mature, grown folk kind of, I think this is kind of sexy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm really attracted to this. Self-confidence, progress, public recognition. Yeah, this is something that's very much like working together to be able to find a balance, to be able to find mental clarity. Let's see. I feel like there's gonna be a recognition that finances play a big role in your life, and realizing we've got the King of Pentacles, the Four of Wands, and then the Hermit all coming out reversed. That there's this idea that, like, you thought you can make your finances bloom all on your own, and that wasn't the case. So while you were sitting here letting your circumstances, which might be your finances, define you, what you really needed to do was recognize that you were lonely and withdrawn, and work with the people around you, if this is like a romantic connection or whatever it is, with the people around you, to trust them to pour into you so that then you can build stability, progress, transition, communication, home conflict. There's this idea, right? conflict with others. This is what's going on with you. You're financially inept, obsessed with wealth and status. You've lost your way. Isolation, withdrawn, distance, conflict with others, lack of support, breakdown in communication, home conflict. There's this idea that like your finances are directly linked to your external life, and to recognize that, you have to understand that you can't neglect one part of your life and expect the other half to what's it called? Quite literally, yeah. So you got the Eight of Pentacles and then the Eight of Cups. You can't work really, really hard on one part and then neglect the other part. Like this is how you're showing up. I don't know if you could focus on that. This is what you're doing, and like on both ends, but it has to be more balanced. Again, more balanced. This idea of, that's the Knight of Swords here. Ambition, action-oriented, driven to succeed. Like you are able to indeed get, like if it's friendship, like a good friendship, you're able to get the high priestess, high moral sensitivity, trust yourself, knowledge, the subconscious, the divine feminine, intuition. This idea of you are absolutely able to get everything that you want. And if everything that you want isn't a lot, but it's like, I want a stable job, I want a person that loves me, I want a healthy relationship with my family, I want if it's a car, if it's a house, if it's a job, if it's friends, whatever it is, that you're able to have all of these at once, and you're actively denying that, saying, no, I can't have a relationship until I get my money up. No, you can have a stable relationship while your money's not up, or you can have a good relationship with your family if you don't have a career, or you can have a good relationship with your kids even if you're in housing crisis, and like housing, this idea of like instability in housing or whatever it is. So it's not like you have to get one thing done to then get the other. You can absolutely have both. And that's what you're learning, is that you have to, again, this idea of like black and white. But yeah, like this idea of those elements are both part of your life, and to be able to deny it is denying yourself what you really want. So we got the Lovers, the Moon, and the Eight of Wands. There is an incoming illusion being lifted. This idea of you're finally coming into alignment, the strength of two together, deep love, a choice, passion, union, harmony. This idea, I'm getting a quote from the Bible that like a man can keep himself by himself, can keep warm by himself, but two does better than one, basically. But this idea that you're really seeing that it doesn't define you to need somebody's help. It actually takes a lot of strength to be able to recognize that and to be able to move forward. You got a lot of eights in your reading here, so 8, 8, 8, 18, 1, 8, 81. But yeah, this idea of like Eight of Cups, Eight of Wands, Eight of Swords, the moon is 18, recognizing that there is potential for very, very, very beautiful, like this is beautiful growth, beautiful intentional life, but you have to be able to recognize the cycles in which are holding you back from it, and why you think you can't literally have it all, even if it all isn't like $1 million or whatever it is. Like you're like, I don't even want that much. Okay, then like accept that you don't want that much, and accept that you can have whatever it is, even if it is that much, you know what I'm saying? Because you're kind of stuck in this teeter-totter, like this idea of balancing decisions, multiple priorities, and you're manifesting this lack within yourself, right? Because this is what you're gonna have, this completion, right? This union, but it's willpower. It's being able to say, like, I genuinely believe that I want to try to really make this work for myself, because I don't know if I don't try, right? This idea that like, I don't know if it's another person, I don't know if being able to work with you and being able to balance a relationship and career is able to work until I try it. And maybe it might not have worked in the past, but the past doesn't define me now. I don't know if I'm able to have a healthy relationship with my family and stable housing because I haven't, like, maybe I've tried it in the past, but the past isn't now. But this very much idea of like just intentionally making movement that isn't projection or protection. Like, you're out of defense mode and you're saying, you wanna know what? I deserve to live a life on my own terms, and I'm gonna do so because at the end of the day, I can always just try again. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.